Welcome to the SunDried Tomatoes Podcast. I'm your host and creator, Anthony Iozzo. If you're watching on YouTube, you can find the audio-only version of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. Please follow, download, and subscribe where applicable. For those listening to the audio version, I also have a video version on the SunDried Tomatoes YouTube channel. You can subscribe there as well and check out other shows that I feature on there that are about sports, brewing, food, music, entertainment, anything like that, including my original series, Random Reactions, where I talk about a news story from the previous week and give my take on it in interesting ways. Legends of the Diamond, where I talk about some of the greatest baseball players of all time that weren't actually allowed to play in the MLB from the late 1800s, early mid 1900s onwards to the 1940s essentially. And Brewing the Facts is another one, a show where I show you my process of home brewing a raspberry jalapeno wheat ale, and also talk about some interesting facts such as brewing in medieval times and the origins of beer pong. And of course, this is a more festive episode, so I'm actually drinking my jalapeno raspberry wheat ale. I like it. I'm not sure if Michael would like jalapeno and raspberries. I also have a new fantasy football show with a twist that comes out every Thursday until the end of the fantasy football season called The Quest for the Green Bowl, The Shadows of Chaos. A little bit of post-apocalyptic sci-fi theme, as well as mentioning our league and how we're doing, and just how the season's going, and also related to just how anybody can play fantasy football. We've all essentially been transported into the future to win a relic, an ancient relic, which is our trophy, in order to save the world from chaotic living shadows. It will be fun. Please follow me. You can also follow me on Instagram at eclectic_Iozzo. That's ECLECTIC_IOZZO. I will have updates, teasers, and short videos to go with all my YouTube content, including weekly updates on my fantasy football league. Plus, you might be able to get to know me a little bit better too. Now, like I said before, this is more of a festive podcast, unlike some of the other ones where they were more interview orientated. And this one will be one of the few ones that don't actually have a lot about sports. But this one and next month's podcast, I'm doing something with the holiday season, having a little bit more fun with the formats as I dive into some more entertainment type topics. I'm joined today by my brother, Michael Anthony Iozzo, today as we dive into our favorite holiday movies and maybe bring back some memories from our previous family Christmas get-togethers. We could both laugh at how our mother named him and then got lazy and named me Anthony Michael. So how you feeling, Mike? You excited to dive into some holiday movies today?
Pretty excited.
Yeah, so just to let you know, my brother is what I would call a movie connoisseur. As he's seen so many movies, I'm pretty sure he can recite all of the ones we will list from heart. He's also someone who's in the comedy and entertainment and will show up on some other SunDried Tomatoes projects in the future. So, I do have to ask, anything to add about your movie expertise? I know you've showed me so many movies in my life, including maybe the unedited version of movies I saw on TV that I didn't even know existed. So is there anything else you want to add about your expertise that the audience might be interested in?
No, I don't know.
You have no idea.
Not sure.
Trust me, everybody. He knows movies. Of course, we grew up on the south side of Chicago, so we're both White Sox, Bulls, and Blackhawks fans as well. I'm excited about the Bulls. We're both hoping for the White Sox to actually make some more trades. I know they picked up Graveman, but we can get into those topics in another podcast. Right now, I want to talk movies. So what I did here is I made my top 10 holiday movies. I also will briefly mention 5 honorable mentions later. Michael and I will comment on the movie, maybe go down memory lane from when we first saw the movie or first saw it without censors. I'll list the honorable mentions a little bit later. And then Michael at the end can go through, tell me how I did, if he'd change anything or maybe add some movies I didn't mention. My one disclaimer is that I literally like so many holiday movies that it would be impossible to narrow them down if I didn't tweak the criteria for how I pick these top 10. So I did my best. I'm sure Michael will have something to say about what I chose later, but I didn't include any animation on this list. In my opinion, that's kind of a different category. I wanted to go more live action. So without further ado, I'm going to start with my number 10 movie on this list. It's the lone Thanksgiving movie on my list, actually. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, starring Steve Martin and John Candy, from 1987. Of course, this is a John Hughes film. He shows up again on this list as he's been a part of so many movies I've watched throughout the years, including another John Candy film in Uncle Buck, which I also enjoy. But Hughes passed away in 2009, but his legacy lives on with these movies. And I have to say, hilariously, this movie is actually one of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, as he has a random scene in this movie as like a taxi racer. Marin Ferrero, the toilet snack guy from Jurassic Park, the guy eaten by the T-Rex, he's in this movie as well. Michael McKean, Edie McClurg makes an amazing scene possible. Also in many movies, including Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Edie McClurg was also a voice in The Life and Times of Tim on HBO, which is another funny show. But we also get Mr. Wilhelm from Seinfeld in this movie. Richard Hurd, he makes a little bit of an appearance. It's kind of funny how a lot of these 80s movies, there's so many random guys that weren't considered A-list actors, but they're in all these great movies, so you know them. Obviously talking about the movie, many scenes come to mind here. So many classic scenes. A lot of these are actually on movieclips.com, their YouTube channel. You can actually check them out if you've never actually seen the movie to see if you want to actually go check it out. But in this one, you have all the car scenes, which keep getting better. The going the wrong way one is pretty good. You got Steve Martin and John Candy with skeleton heads. John Candy turns into the devil randomly. Like, it's pretty good. It's all gold. Their fingers get melted into the dashboard and the steering wheel. Of course, the car ends up going on fire later in the scene, and then they got to drive this burnt up car, and they're like sticking to the seats. That's really funny. Just classic comedy, of course. You get some very good lines, of course. John Candy and Steve Martin share a bed in a motel in one scene, and you get those aren't pillows. It's all good stuff. And like all John Hughes films, they actually have tearjerker moments as well. The ending here is actually one of those. It's got a little bit of an emotional add to all the comedy. In my opinion, one of the all-timers in this movie is the car rental scene with Edie McClurg. You get Steve Martin going on that terrible journey across the lot after the shuttle drops him off and the rental car isn't there. That's funny in and of itself. He's falling down hills, getting snow in his shoes. But the rant that Steve Martin goes opposite McClurg, it's so good. McClurg plays the person at the car rental desk. It's a rant I'm sure many of us have wanted to have in certain moments, like at the DMV. But, just I could go down the list of all the scenes in this movie. I think it's a very funny movie. It's got the emotional moments, like I said. It's a good family classic, something to watch after stuffing yourself on Thanksgiving for sure. And travel's still a nightmare, so this movie kind of still holds up to the present times. What's funny is that I only remember watching the uncensored, unedited version for the first time after college. There's actually some scenes that they don't necessarily show or they cut on TV. But for you, Michael, I'm sure you've seen this movie a million times. What are your thoughts on Plane, Trains, and Automobiles? Are you also do you also dig this movie a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's great.
I
didn't know like all those other people were in it though. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Like I said, all those kind of B-list actors, I guess I would say, some of them C-list actors, they make such small cameos that you might not know they're in it because it's just a small scene here and there. Edie McClurg is one that would stand out because of that end scene. But yeah, Kevin Bacon, it's like I didn't know he was in there. Mr. Wilhelm, it's kind of funny how they're just little things make a movie funny. But do you remember kind of the first time you saw this movie? I know it came out in the 80s. Obviously, you would have been not old enough at first. So I'm guessing you didn't see it closer to the 90s. But and when you first saw this movie or whatever, like, did you think it was hilarious?
I did think it was hilarious. It's like, when did that come out?
It came out in 1987. So, you would have been 6 or 7 at the time. I believe 7 you would have been at the time.
Yeah, I don't think I remember seeing it till about 10.
Yeah. and the funny thing is, a lot of these movies we either saw like on TV or, maybe not necessarily at the theaters, but we saw them, because, our dad maybe showed us the movie, or it was just on. I know they used to play movies on TV probably a lot more than they do now, I feel. But like I said, the uncensored version I didn't see until after college. So
there's a lot of swearing in it, so I don't think it's very family.
I disagree because
family movie.
I disagree because it's got those tearjerker moments, and the kids don't know what's going on half the time. There's actually a couple of movies on here that I would say are family, but there's things that go over kids' heads. So I don't know. I guess it's the discretion of the parent, but I think it's pretty good. And that's my number 10. So I'm going to move on now. My number 9, I get a little comedy horror going with the addition of Gremlins from 1984, directed by Joe Dante and written by Chris Columbus. Some funny facts about these guys, which I didn't necessarily know watching these movies, but Joe Dante directed Inner Space and The Burbs. Columbus also wrote the screenplay for The Goonies, of course, Gremlins 2, the new batch. Also, apparently, Gremlins 3 and The Goonies 2 have been announced. Columbus is the executive producer of Gremlins 3, so I guess they're making sequels to these movies that I didn't know about. So that's kind of cool. Of course, Phoebe Cates is one of the stars here, also from Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Drop Dead Fred. Cates, of course, is married to Kevin Kline, moved away from acting in the mid-90s, actually, so hasn't, I think, had a couple of things, but for the most part, since 94, hasn't been in much. Zach Gilligan is the other star, mostly known for the Gremlins movies. He actually hasn't done much else besides Gremlins. You also get Corey Feldman as a child actor in here. Dick Miller, who had many minor roles, is in it, including the garbage man in The Burbs, one of the garbage men in one of those scenes. Obviously you get the cute in this movie. You have the mogwai. You get the comedy whore with the gremlins themselves, as they kind of just want to party and cause havoc. I mean, you have to love the caroler scene with Mrs. Deagle, played by Polly Holiday. Mrs. Deagle's a mean woman, kind of gets what she deserves. I remember laughing a lot, when I was 12 at this scene. You have the gremlins pretending the Christmas carolers. And then Mrs. Deagle gets messed with, her little chairlift that brings her up some stairs. She gets thrown out a window. It's like, not really family, maybe a little mean, but she was a mean character.
It, though.
Yeah, exactly. She was a mean character. There's also the strange in this movie, like when Phoebe Cates' character, Kate, kind of funny that her name's Kate, gives one of the most depressing Christmas stories of all time in a scene with Gilligan's character, Billy. I mean, it's just so depressing. It's just like, wow, this person cannot enjoy Christmas. Overall, the movie definitely has Christmas down. You got the gremlins going on, but it takes place during Christmas. And the narration is pretty good. The overall theme with humans messing with nature is always fun because it usually leads to bad things. The Dick Miller scenes where he's an old army vet kind of reminds us of our Uncle Mickey a little bit. He gets messed with the gremlins, but he knows all about the gremlins because of those stories from World War II. It's not the greatest movie of all time, obviously, but it's definitely one I watch every December. We've watched this movie many times, me and Michael here, when I come into Chicago often during the holidays. But, what do you like about Gremlins? There's so many kind of random scenes that it just kind of all blends together, but this is obviously a classic.
I don't know. It's just a great Christmas movie, I think. And it's actually my least favorite Judge Reinhold cameo movie.
Yeah, I forget that Judge Reinhold is also in this movie. He's the banker guy? Like, That's funny. He's in a million other movies too, including Fast Times with Phoebe Cates. It's funny how a lot of these actors end up being in the same movies. It's like they must all just, like, oh, like I'm doing this movie, you should be in it. It's like so funny. I think with Gremlins, as a kid, I really thought it was, you get the Gremlins and they're nuts. You get the Mogwai, kind of a weird creature from, essentially the old wise man from China, has the Mogwai because you got the salesman guy. But like the thing about Gremlins that I think as an adult, besides the nostalgia that gets me, is the fact that it's like kind of absurd, with the family, because it's like you have this poor family, you have the one character Billy, you have that one character Kate. Both of them have ridiculous, obviously the dad's never around for the one family. They have these weird inventions that don't work. Then you have Kate, who had like a horrible tragedy happen during Christmas. It's Mrs. Deagle wants to like murder a dog. It's just so absurd.
Those inventions, I remember that now. The smokeless ashtray that actually like you open it and it chokes you.
Yeah,
all the smoke.
Yeah, it's supposed to be smokeless. but that's what's funny though, is because you look at it and you realize that like it's essentially saying the humans are as bad as the Gremlins, and I think that's why I like it, because you just, it's like you have all these horrible things happening, and it's like, who's really the bad guy here? The Gremlins who just want to party in the bar and like cause havoc and like chaos, or Mrs. Deagle who wants to kill a dog? Yeah. Another reason why I laughed when she was thrown out the window. So yeah, Gremlins is definitely my number 9. So now I want to move on to number 8, and now I'm getting into a little action on this list, as I go with a movie that many forget is a Christmas movie, Die Hard from 1988, directed by John McTiernan. Also directed Die Hard with a Vengeance, Last Action Hero, The Hunt for Red October, and Predator. So he did a lot of action movies that are pretty famous. He didn't direct Die Hard 2, though, which might be why it's my least favorite of the original trilogy. But, of course, the story is based on a novel by Roderick Thorpe called Nothing Lasts Forever. I've never actually read this novel, but I would like to check it out at some point. It sounds like it could be fun. But you get Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman, William Atherton, Paul Gleason, the principal from The Breakfast Club. You get Bonnie Bedelia, and of course, the man, the myth, the cop, Reginald VelJohnson, otherwise known as Carl Winslow to most people. He's also in this film. To be honest, the VelJohnson cameo in this might be one of my favorite side characters, and I guess it's not even a cameo. I'm pretty sure Family Matters didn't exist yet when this came out. I already knew of Family Matters when I saw Die Hard for the first time, so to me, it's a cameo. But he plays Sergeant Al Powell. The scenes where he's talking with Bruce Willis's character, they're all timers in my opinion. He's talking to John McClane, emotion, suspense. There's some comedy. I mean, you can't go wrong there. Carl Winslow just plays the cop so well. Reginald VelJohnson. The story is compelling for an action movie. Of course, you get the movie starts where the odds are stacked against John McClane, all the way down to not having shoes and needing to walk over broken glass. I think Alan Rickman might be one of the most fantastic villains of like the 80s action movies. His voice is just classic. I mean, the guy's a very good actor, of course. One of my favorite scenes is the final standoff, of course. They're both laughing at each other. It creates suspense. This scene's been spoofed so many times. Danny DeVito on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia spoofs this scene in one of the episodes. I actually remember watching this movie unedited for the first time by our grandmother's house. Our grandmother Nani. I was probably 11 or 12 because she had HBO. Do you remember like Nani had HBO and we didn't even have cable? But she loved action movies. Nani was into this. Like there was
You got the free stuff from little Frankie. He knew somebody, and they gave him the things to screw onto the box.
Yeah, she's the old, and we used to. There were some school nights I stayed over there for whatever reason. I don't know if people were working or they went out and they needed Nani to babysit. But I remember staying there on some school nights too. But whatever the reason I was staying there, I remember always staying up late to watch action movies with Nani. Like, she loved them. Like Universal Soldier, she'd be all into it. Like, oh man, this movie's good. Like, she actually loved action movies. And because this was usually on TV around the holidays, I probably saw it every year for a good 20 years, Die Hard. You know, so some would say I'm stretching to say this is a holiday movie, though. You know, it was billed as one, though, I got to say. So, you know, I think I'm correct. Like, they actually in the previews were
this
like,
is Carl Winslow undercover.
Yeah, exactly. If you've not seen that Reddit, you know, conspiracy theory, you should go check that out, because it's a pretty great one. It links every single movie that Reginald Vale Johnson is in, and links it back to Carl Winslow.
A Crocodile Dundee too. The limo driver.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what about you? I mean, would you probably consider Die Hard a Christmas movie? I would hope, but is this one you think about the holidays? Is this one that you think about Christmas? Die Hard?
Actually, never. I haven't seen it in like the longest time.
Really? That's interesting.
Oh. But like, can anything be a Christmas movie that has Christmas in it? That's my question.
Yeah. You know, if
it was for a second, it had Christmas in it.
Yeah, like 1 second of Christmas, like it opened and it's Christmas, and the rest of the movie takes place in the summer. That's a Christmas movie.
I was just watching a movie with Chris Pratt on Amazon. It had Christmas in it for a little bit.
Yeah, for like 5 seconds. It depends on how people do lists. I like to do it to where most of the story takes place during Christmas, or the theme itself can be relatable to winter, Christmas. You know, there are movies that came around Christmas too. Like, obviously Die Hard was released around the holidays, and it was.
Isn't Harry Potter a Christmas movie too?
One of them is, I think, is considered. I forget if it's the first one or one of them is.
I watched that too.
You haven't seen Die Hard in forever. I'm actually kind of surprised about that. I mean, do you even like this movie?
Oh, I do. I like it, but yeah, I've been meaning to watch it again, but I just always forget.
Oh, man. I recommend it, man. Alan Rickman, he's so good in it.
He's great.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know. It's like some of those '80s action movies were just they flowed very good. Like, they weren't necessarily all special effects and like all, you know, shootouts. The suspense of like. And the conversations in this movie, I think, make it. Like the John McClane and you know, the sergeant when they're talking. Those are some great scenes. But you know, I still think it's crazy to think when you have all these movies, and if there's Christmas in there for like 10 seconds, you have to have a debate. Is that a Christmas movie now? You know, I'm one to say that The Nightmare Before Christmas is more of a Christmas movie than a Halloween movie.
It's actually both.
Yeah,
you watch it both times.
Yeah, that's what people tell me. I'm like, yeah, but like the main part is Christmas. But I guess yes, it's Halloween and Christmas. Yeah, Tim Burton stretching the definitions, I guess. You know, but yeah, that's to me, Die Hard has definitely got to be on my top 10. So I'm guessing because you haven't seen it in so long, it wouldn't be on yours. So I'll be interested to hear, you know, if you have anything else to take its place. But I'm going to move on to number 7 now. A Christmas Story from 1983. I know our cousin Laura's probably screaming as she listens to this, because that's probably number 1 or number 2 on her list. She loves A Christmas Story so much. You know, but again, this is a very hard list to make. And like I said, if it makes this list, that means it's a good movie in my mind. But the one thing about A Christmas Story, while it's good, it has a lot of great scenes, I always remember it during that 24 hours of A Christmas Story thing they do on like TNT or TBS, one of those channels, you know, during Christmas Eve. So it would always be on TV when we'd be at Nana's house for our Christmas Eve family parties. And I would catch parts throughout the day. But I would never like ever watch it like from the beginning to the end. You know, it was actually later. Like I think I was in like college when I finally watched A Christmas Story from the beginning to the end without it being broken up. You know,
it's kind of like when I fell asleep during a Captain Ron marathon. Apparently, I kept waking up and Captain Ron was on. I was like, Captain Ron. I think I was so drunk too. I was like, man, I felt like I was on the ship with Captain Ron.
That might be one of the funniest things that. First of all, why would you need a Captain Ron? Was it like Pirate Day?
I don't know.
Kurt Russell Day?
But I watched the whole movie throughout the night because like every time I woke up, it was a scene I didn't watch yet. So
that's so good. Oh man, that's good stuff. I do have to say that I might not even watch the full Christmas Story, like I said in the beginning. But if they did more marathons like that, I don't know, a Captain Ron marathon where you could go to sleep and wake up at a different scene. That sounds like an amusement park ride. Back to A Christmas Story after we went on that crazy rant. I do say the scenes are still iconic, which is why I have it on here. I mean, you'll shoot your eye out, kid, of course, with the BB gun. The tongue frozen on the pole. That ridiculous kind of a stripper leg lamp that the dad gets. I mean, all good stuff. Bob Clark directed the movie. This is the best movie he's directed, so I don't know what that says. It's based on a novel by Gene Shepard called In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. I actually did not know that either, but upon the research. Shepard was the narrator's voice in the movie, so I wonder if, because he wrote the book, he said, I need to be involved in some way. I'm going to guess. I didn't see anything online about that. Peter Billingsley plays young Ralphie as a child. This is his most famous movie as well. It's kind of funny. This is one of the rare movies where the cast is kind of a bit of an unknown. The mother, though, Melinda Dillon, she was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, so she's probably the most well-known person here. The dad, of course, Darren McGavin, was also in Billy Madison, Adam Sandler's dad in that movie.
Jon Favreau invited Ralphie to be in the Elf movie.
Oh, yeah, and he was in the Elf movie, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So, this movie, of course, a lot of memories just because of the parties we'd have by our grandma and nana's house. It was always on television. I could just visualize every one of those, Christmas parties. We could actually probably make a Christmas movie ourselves about our family and all the insanity that happened at those parties. When I watch this movie, it literally just reminds me of my Uncle Danny screaming Prince Spaghetti Day all wasted at me. Or our Aunt Bonnie being the real life version of the show Shameless, just showing up on crutches because she hit her leg on a door or something, And then, our great grandmother Clara, she'd just be kind of wandering around the kitchen, early on. I remember that as a young kid as well.
There was always a fight that ended like Christmas.
Yeah, there was always some sort of an insane fight where
we went through the Christmas tree, thrown through the Christmas tree.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was definitely some crazy times with jugs of Carlo Rossi wine, and all the eggnog and champagne bottles being taken off tables with nobody even noticing, and all the teenagers drinking champagne. Just some crazy moments. But again, that's what A Christmas Story actually ends up reminding me when I see it. It's not even that the movie, it is a good movie, there's some good scenes, but it's more of those memories. So that's why it's number 7 on my list. But just what are your thoughts on the movie? Do you think I'm crazy for having it this low, or
No, I don't. I'm not crazy about it. I like it, but it's not going to be in my top list at all.
Oh, so we get a little teaser there. Again, it's more the nostalgia and the memories for me. That's why I couldn't really put it higher than 7. But again, I do like it. I do like the scenes. It's maybe one of those movies where the few scenes that are good in there are worth watching on YouTube, but maybe you don't need to watch the whole movie. I'm going to move on now to the last of the first half of my list here. Number 6. I'm talking about Edward Scissorhands, another Christmas movie some might not expect to be called a Christmas movie. This one is from 1990. I think this one qualifies for Christmas because the last third of the movie actually centers around a Christmas party. And there's that dark fairy tale aspect through the whole thing, which reminds me of like Norwegian folklore type stuff. So I just consider that Christmas as well. I think it just screams Christmas. You know,
it's
you
like,
have some
Addams Family too. It's a Thanksgiving movie because that whole play, but it happened in summer at a camp.
That is true. That is true, and that's one I didn't even think about for holiday movies. You know, I like the first Addams Family movie better than the second one, I think, but you know, that one is pretty good. That might have made an honorable mention if I was.
Carol Kane is the new grandma in that. She wasn't in the first one. That's why I like the second one.
Yeah, Carol Kane's great. She actually shows up in a movie on this list a little later. But, you know, obviously talking about Edward Scissorhands, Tim Burton, one of the writers, Carolyn Thompson as well. Tim Burton obviously directed. We all know this, you know, hit the most famous Tim Burton Halloween Christmas movie hybrid that we kind of mentioned before, Nightmare Before Christmas. I consider that an animated movie, which is why it's not on this list. Thompson actually also wrote the original Addams Family movie, the first one, you know, before the second one. Also wrote a Secret Garden screenplay, the Nightmare Before Christmas screenplay, Corpse Bride. So been involved with a lot of Tim Burton kind of as a co-writer, which is pretty interesting. Edward Scissorhands obviously stacked. You got Johnny Depp, Winona Ryder, Diane Wiest, the buff version of Anthony Michael Hall, not the nerd version. And another all-time cameo in Vincent Price. Might be some of my favorite scenes, playing the inventor.
Diane Wiest, she always reminded me of Aunt Barbara.
Yeah, she did, and she's another one. She's in so many different movies that I like, you know. But it's just kind of weird that there's like these random people that you wouldn't consider stars, but they happen to be in some of the best movies, you know. But again, in Edward Scissorhands, I think what stands out to me, the cinematography, the set work, just how everything is just so uniform. It makes the suburb seem so boring, and then that like foreboding house in the background is pretty cool. I think it's funny when Johnny Depp's learning how to live in regular societies, cutting people's hair. You know, women are coming on to him. He's in love with Winona Ryder. You know, I think the Winona Ryder scenes are pretty great as well. You know, the ice sculpture scene is a classic one. The mob mentality in this movie is pretty classic kind of trope. And I think the score makes this movie good in and of itself. Danny Elfman did it. So Danny Elfman was actually upset with how the music was dubbed in the original Batman movie that he did in 1989. So it was the year prior to Edward Scissorhands. He went all out here to do the best he could. He made sure that he was involved in the process, watching the scenes. He didn't like that in Batman, he gave his score and then they edited in without his input. He made sure his input was in here, and I think it makes every scene actually makes sense. Like the music fits every single scene, including that famous ice dance scene, like I said, with Winona Ryder. Pretty classic with the music. You know, the thing is I really enjoyed this movie as a kid. And then as I grew up, I enjoyed it even more. It's a movie I've seen many times. The inventor scenes with Vincent Price are just so good. A big tearjerker in there as well. But you know, what I like about this is, like I said, it's like kind of that trope, that outcast story, the typical Frankenstein, where there's the monster, he doesn't fit in, and then the people turn on him in the end just because he's different. You know, as a kid, I didn't really fit in with a lot of groups, so I kind of related with Edward Scissorhands. You know. I also think about the Seinfeld episode when they talk about Edward Scissorhands. So what does Kramer say? Like, you know, I wish I had shoehorn hands. But, you know, what about you? Do you like Edward Scissorhands? You know, what are your thoughts on this movie? Do you think it fits a Christmas list for you?
No, I love Edward Scissorhands. Yeah, I always thought it was a Christmas movie too.
Yeah, what would you say are some of your favorite parts of it?
Oh, Vincent Price, definitely like the best part of that movie.
yeah, it's my favorite too.
Best.
Yeah, it's my favorite too. I mean, it's just like the way he talks. I don't know. Yeah. Those flashback scenes are so weird. So it's crazy. Is Matt Berry. I'm sure you know Matt Berry, you know, IT Crowd, Mighty Boosh, you know, he's in mixed cameos of a million different things. You know, love Matt Berry. I think he's hilarious. He does songs too. He does albums. And one of the songs he did is called Hold My Hand. The music video reminds me a lot of Edward Scissorhands, hilariously, because of that trope. Like, essentially, you have this old guy who he's kind of lonely. He feels like he's not leaving a legacy. Well, he invents this robot and, like, tries to teach this robot, things as if it's his son, like, teaching him how to drink tea or, like, how to, do walk over there or, like, read a book, like, all these different things. And so the music video goes, and then, like, he's teaching this robot. They're all happy and fun. Well, at the end of the music video, the old man, like, dies, but he's, like, happy. He's like, I left something. Well, it's kind of, then the robot kind of doesn't know what to do, kind of wanders off at the end. It's almost like bittersweet. Like, you saw this thing, and then, like, it's kind of sad at the end. It's kind of like Edward Scissorhands, like, like the Vincent Price scenes. You had this inventor. He's, like, creating this person, something he's never invented because he can never have a son. And, before he can finish, he died. So it's just, this whole thing. And spoiler alert, I would hope you've seen this movie coming out in the 90s. But, it's just, I just enjoy Edward Scissorhands a lot. Like you said, I always consider it a Christmas movie. And, if people disagree, they disagree, I guess. But I like it. So now I'm going to get into the top 5, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy number 5 here because I bring a clear Christmas movie in Elf from 2003, starring Will Ferrell, James Caan, and Bob Newhart, written by David Birnbaum, directed by Jon Favreau, who, to be honest, every time I see Jon Favreau or anything he's in, all I can think about is that PCU scene with the old lady asking him, "Can you blow me where the Pampers is?"
I think about Swingers and Maid.
Oh yeah, Swingers is another one. I just that PCU scene just cracks me up every time, where he's, like, high as hell and doesn't know how to handle it, and, like, thinks the old lady is asking him, "Can you blow me where the Pampers is?" but obviously Favreau has been an actor, writer. He's directed movies like Iron Man. He's kind of a jack of all trades guy. This movie is another movie that our cousin Laura obviously loves. Probably this and A Christmas Story would be her top 2, I would guess. But to make my top 5 does mean a lot, so don't get mad at me. I mean, you can't really go wrong. You got Will Ferrell playing Buddy. Bob Newhart's a classic comedian. He's got such good delivery. He's kind of a narrator at times in this movie. You got James Caan. He can do drama, action, and comedy, no problems. He's just a good actor. Ed Asner playing Santa Claus. Our Aunt Mary Steenburgen, not actually our Aunt Mary, but looks like our Aunt Mary, is also in this. Peter Dinklage, Amy Sedaris. I mean, they have, like, kind of an all-star cast. Of course, my fiance Alexandra's favorite actress, Zooey Deschanel's in this too. She'll get a kick out of that. A great cast.
He looks terrible with that blonde hair, though.
Much better with black hair, that's for sure. Ferrell's Buddy character, obviously, as a human, ended up being raised by elves, thinks he's an elf until he learns he's human. So then he goes on a journey from the North Pole to find his birth father, which is played by James Caan, Walter Hobbs. Newhart plays the elf papa who kind of, brings him up. He's kind of, it kind of starts like a documentary with Bob Newhart talking about how he raised elves. That's really funny. One of my favorite scenes, you got Artie Lang kind of making a random cameo as a department store Santa. The "you sit on a throne of lies" scene where he's accosting the fake Santa. That's pretty good. The snowball fight where, like, suddenly, Will Ferrell's like a superhuman, like, with snowballs. That was pretty good. I just think I think this is a very good holiday movie. I wouldn't call it shockingly funny, like, like an Office Christmas Party is just meant to be, like, ridiculously, like, so many dirty things and things going on and, like, people making jokes. It's just meant to be absurd. This is more of, like, I would say it's more of it's probably closer to a family Christmas movie than anything else. There are some things that go over kids' heads, but, I would think that this is definitely a good holiday movie. The way classic Christmas movies are incorporated, you got Leon the Snowman. It's like, kind of like the snowman narrator from, like, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer's randomly in Santa's Village. Like Santa Claus, he explains to Will Ferrell's character what a peep show is. So there's things that definitely are like adult, but like the kid's not going to know what that means.
Was he eating spaghetti and like something like spaghetti and some candy, right?
Yeah. He pretty much lived on like candy. Like somehow
he was eating it with spaghetti, like
it's good stuff. I mean, obviously I understand why anyone likes this. So I mean, what do you like or dislike about Elf? I feel like it was one of those gems from the 2000s that came out, and I like most things that Will Ferrell's in. So.
Yeah, it was one of the newer Christmas movies that I really liked.
Yeah, and I know that you have kind of showed me a lot of different Christmas. Every time we come over, we find like a new one. Another one that didn't, spoiler alert, didn't make my list, but that musical with the zombies, that's kind of a Christmas movie randomly. I was almost thinking,
the whole point.
Yeah, I was almost thinking of putting it on the list, but I didn't, just because it's kind of new. And like I feel like I have to watch it a couple more times before I really like.
Remember the one with Ben Affleck and James Gandolfini, Surviving Christmas, and Christine Applegate? It ended weird, where they're just like, "I love you as my fake sister," and "I love you as my fake brother," or like something like that. It was just weird. Yeah. It's like, what? They're getting turned on by that?
It kind of makes you. Almost when you look at all the Christmas movies that there actually are, you're almost like, wow, there's like thousands, like, tens of thousands maybe, for all we know. Especially when you get back to the 30s and 40s, they made like a Christmas movie like every day. Like there was like a new Christmas movie, some of those weird movies, and then they would turn franchises. They would have one Christmas version, even the Three Stooges had like a Christmas episode. So like everything has Christmas. But then we talk about like the newer stuff. Like I feel like Elf is probably the newest Christmas movie that is probably got the most kind of family vibe. Like a lot of the other Christmas movies I've seen, like maybe that Fred Claus movie that you showed me kind of has that as well. But I don't know. Like I feel like this one was the most well done in like, our late, generation that kind of came along. Because like a lot of the movies on 80s, 90s, like, and maybe before, even 40s, 50s were like considered some of the top ones. But Elf, like for me, it's definitely up there. So, I mean, are you surprised kind of that the Christmas movie thing is still going strong? Because to be honest, I'm a little surprised that we still have, so many Christmas movies, and like everybody wants to make them. Like comedians want to make Christmas movies all the time. Like I think it's kind of funny. I mean, we all have Christmas parties, I guess, but I mean, are you surprised by that at all?
No, I'm not surprised. Still, a lot of good stuff coming out. I'm not surprised about it.
Well, like when you talk about Elf, what do you think about Bob Newhart being in this movie randomly? Like I think he might have some of the best delivery. Like obviously with our dad, we used to watch the Bob Newhart show.
Great, yeah.
He's so funny. Are you surprised that Bob Newhart's going to be in random movies like with Will Ferrell? Like, because to be honest, when I first saw that he was in the movie, I was like,
I'm not surprised because he was on Mad TV as well.
That is true. He was playing a psychiatrist. I remember that episode about being buried in a box or whatever. It was good. Good stuff. Yeah, he's just an all-timer, that guy. It's good stuff. I think that in and of itself keeps this in the top 5 for me, just those scenes with him. But yeah, moving on to number 4, and I know you love this movie because you're the first one who told me about it, first one who showed it to me. Before I even saw it, you were reciting scenes. I'm talking about Bill Murray's classic comedy Scrooged from 1988, directed by Richard Donner, who hilariously, you look at this guy, Richard Donner's movies he directed, the entire Lethal Weapon franchise, the original Superman, The Toy starring Richard Pryor and Jackie Gleason. It's just kind of an insane list of movies, including Scrooge. Obviously, Scrooge is based on A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Mitch Glazer, who also helped write A Very Murray Christmas special, and Michael O'Donoghue, who was the SNL head writer from 1976 to 1981. So that original cast, they both kind of wrote the screenplay here. I
didn't even look this one up. That's great. I didn't even know about all these people that did this stuff.
yeah, and you've seen this movie a million times. Like, there are little things. I definitely, anyone that's seen movies, like maybe you like a movie a lot. Maybe you're not. You don't know who the writers are, or like the director. I tell everyone, go check it out. Go look on IMDb, see who they are, and then see what other movies they did, because you're going to realize that they've probably done many good movies and they've been involved in many good things. Like, these are like there's a reason why this is number 4 on my list, and then you get to the cast. You're talking about Carol Kane. She's in this one. Obviously Bill Murray takes center stage, but then you get Karen Ellen, John Glover, Elfrey Woodard, Bobcat Goldthwait makes an amazing thing. And don't forget about Robert Goulet's Cajun Christmas. Yes, Robert Goulet is in this. Also, John Houseman playing himself. Can I help you, Mr. Bag? Seinfeld fanatics obviously get that reference, but he plays himself reading A Christmas Carol on the TV special. That's good stuff. For those that for some reason have never seen this.
For cats, remember the whole thing for cats?
Yeah. More stuff for cats. But Bill Murray as a TV exec, when I first saw this movie, just the opening with the advertisements, it's just gold. You have the one that the staff wants to put out, and it's just like Santa Claus and like the $6 million man, like in like a crazy terrorist battle. No. And Robert Goulet's Cajun Christmas, like it's just all in there at the beginning. He says, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, like with alligators trying to kill him. And then this
one was his clip, like the terrorist acid rain.
Exactly. You're gonna die. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's just so good. And then Carol Kane, just her voice is recognizable, playing the ghost of Christmas Present. Yeah. She keeps like hitting him in the nuts, punching him in his face. Just all.
Wait, who's that one guy again? The cab driver. He's kind of famous too.
Yeah.
Niagara Falls.
Yeah, that guy's good. That guy's hilarious. I think that scene is good too, because the flashback scenes kind of show you how Frank Cross became who he was. And I believe that was Brian Doyle Murray playing his dad too.
Yeah,
and that's his brother in real life. So it's just
a choo-choo train. It's 10 pounds of eel.
That's it's all good stuff. Obviously you get the one-liners. One that you said, and I was like, wait, he says that? And then I watched the movie again. Like, I thought you were Richard Pryor when he's throwing the fire.
I didn't get that till like years later.
Yeah, and as a kid, it would have went over my head because I didn't even know that Richard Pryor set himself on fire. Like,
no, me either. Like, I didn't get that till like years later.
Like I had to see a documentary, and then I was like, oh, now I get it. Like,
now it's like the best line ever.
It's just and it's definitely Christmas. I mean, you have we could go down these scenes forever. You get the ending. It's kind of a sing-along. I used to join in that when I was a kid and saw this movie on before, but I'd say that there had been a fun. I think this would have been a fun movie to see in the theaters. I'm kind of sad I didn't get to it. I wonder if the theaters actually did because he's like, everybody on the left side now, let's hear you, and everybody on the right. Like, I wonder if people actually did that. Like, they call that breaking down the fourth wall or whatever.
No.
But what's funny is that for some reason critics hated this movie. Like, I don't get it. Like, it's loved by audiences. It actually did very well at the box office. I think, it grossed a pretty good amount for that time, close to 100 million, I believe. One critic from the Washington Post named Joe Brown at the time said it wouldn't age well and that it was unlikely to become a seasonal tradition. Well, I would say that's wrong because this movie is my number 4, and I know you like it. You know, I've seen it a million times. You know, I have to say that you know, because you kind of showed me some of the funny and more subtle moments of this movie that I might have missed, like when we've rewatched it. You know, what do you think? I mean, how dumb do you think it is that the critics didn't like it? Because I think it's like timeless. I think that it will last forever.
I didn't even know that the critics didn't like it, because this is a great movie to me.
Yeah, it's like the first time I saw it on TV. Remember in the TV guide, they would actually have like whether it was 1 star, 2 stars, or 3 stars, or 4. It would always have 2 stars only, and then I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's just ridiculous, because it's like kind of like a cult classic now, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Joe Brown, if you're still alive, you were definitely wrong, Joe Brown. Like Joe Brown seems like a made up name. Like you know. It's like Fletch. It's like Chevy Chase. Just trying to get people's goat. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely. And again, when this is in my top 5, so you know that it's really good. So now moving on to number 3, I'm putting a classic on my list. It's a Wonderful Life from 1946. I know many movie watchers are like, "Why a black and white film? You know, that's a boring movie." But you know, I think this is the classic of classics for Christmas movies. I've seen it so many times.
It's not even my favorite Jimmy Stewart movie.
Yeah, no, there are better Jimmy Stewart movies. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is not like this is rated specifically as Christmas movie, but like, you know, it's directed by Frank Capra, who's obviously Arsenic and Old Lace. He did the Mr. Smith Goes to Washington movie. You know, the original Mr. Deeds movie before the Adam Sandler, like, you know, remake or whatever. Like, he did those, and those are funny back in the day. And if you watch them, they are still funny. Like, if you like movies, but you also.
If I was going to pick an old movie, I'd rather watch Bing Crosby tap dance with Danny fucking Kaye.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think we're getting some insight into Michael's list. You know, I do have to say, though, the screenplay in this, co-written by Francis Goodrich and Albert Hackett. You know, what other things did they do? They wrote many of the Thin Man movies. You know, our mom, Diane, like, she loves the Thin Man, but they are funny. They're funny. They're funny movies. Also, the Diary of Anne Frank TV movie they did. I'm sure many of us have seen that in school. That's where I saw it. They like forced us to watch it in school. You know, which is kind of funny, like, because it was just a TV movie, kind of random. They also wrote the Father of the Bride original and the reboot. They did them both. The reboot, of course, stars Steve Martin, who's also mentioned in another movie here. But like you said, Jimmy Stewart's in this. You know, for anyone on YouTube that I'm sure knows, I personally think Jimmy Stewart could be played by Link of Rhett and Link from Good Mythical Morning fame, because Link can do a great Dana Carvey, which makes sense because Dana Carvey does a great Jimmy Stewart impression, and everyone's connected. Donna Stewart of Shadow the Thin Man is, and the Donna Reed Show from 1958 to 1966 is also in this movie. You know, probably this is one of the movies too, when you look down the list, there's not a lot of recognizable names in terms of who's in it besides Jimmy Stewart and Donna Stewart. But the thing is that in those old 40s days, 50s, even 30s, everybody was a good actor. The guy playing the taxi cab driver that has one line was probably in like 1 million plays in his life. Like, it was just a different time. Like, it's like, to get those lists, like those roles, you had to be like a very good like actor. Like, you know, I know you were already throwing shade at this, but I just think this is the classic, you know.
I actually don't even really remember it because, like, I don't know. I had never seen it that many times.
Yeah, see, I watched it a lot with our dad Ralph, but like, you know, this is the I Wish I Wasn't Born movie. You get the guardian angel grants the wish, you know, shows you how awful it would be, you know, that you weren't known by anyone in life, and like what that does. So, you know, it's kind of a midlife crisis movie that people relate to, especially during the holidays when things happen to us. It's definitely a family classic, you know, with the angel gets the wings when the bell rings or whatever scene. But, you know, I feel like this is a movie that has very good acting from all the roles. It didn't need that all-star cast. And then you get that journey of Jimmy Stewart. His character, George Bailey, the way they piece it together is why this is usually on many critics' lists for one of the top Christmas movies, because it's put together so well. Like it begins with George Bailey as a kid. He's dealing with different things there. Then it moves on as he's, trying to better himself. He becomes a real estate guy that can plan villages and cities and things like that. Essentially he ends up becoming the same thing that he hated in the beginning, what he wanted to not become. So he just was like, I'm done with everything. It's number 3 for me because there are definitely better movies, and you'll see the movies that I have over this. But again, I remember watching this with our dad, Ralph. It was usually on those AMC movie classics with that guy that came out. He would have a suit, and it'd be like a red curtain, and he would just be like, here's another classic movie from the golden era of TV or movies or whatever he'd say. It was on, it would not have commercials either.
I remember that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I saw a lot of great movies that way that I probably would have never watched myself, but he would, he'd mention things as they happen, dad, like he'd be like, oh, like that's, how dad is, like, he'd be like, oh yeah, that scene, you see that scene, you like pause it and you like show that scene, like, you see that, that's great cinematography right there. Like, so he was very good at that. I personally, the Last of the Moon scene's pretty good. It kind of shows how he could be a little cocky at a young age when he's courting, Donna Stewart's character. Again, like I said, the way the movie takes us through George's life is great. Actually, one of my favorite scenes is he goes to a graveyard with his guardian angel after he realizes, like, he got his wish, like he wasn't born, but he's still kind of coming to terms with it. And he realizes so many things change, like his brother is dead instead of being alive, and he never built this essentially this village that everybody lived. It's just this graveyard because he never built it, so the land was never used. It's kind of like the butterfly effect, I find. It shows how, like, essentially the person says each man's life touches so many other lives, and that's the point. It shows us as individuals how important we are, just as anyone else, because if we didn't exist, all the little things that we come in contact to are now changed. So, to me, that's like kind of the classic Christmas trope. I still like this movie. I'll watch it from time to time. I think it's a great late night watch with the family when you're stuffed and you can't drink anymore, and it's a cold night in December, and you kind of just want to like watch the movie and then pass out. But you've already kind of mentioned that you don't really watch this movie. You don't really like this movie. So I have to ask, you talked about this isn't your favorite Jimmy Stewart movie, and I'm sure this isn't Christmas related, but what is your favorite Jimmy Stewart movie?
The Man That Shot Liberty Valance.
That's a fantastic movie. Another one I saw in AMC, classic movies or whatever with Dad. I actually think Dad borrowed it from somebody. He had a VHS. It was like a recorded off TV VHS. No. I don't know. I like It's a Wonderful Life. I think it deserves to be on my top 3. So I'll be interested. There's a couple of movies so far that I feel like you might not have on the top 10. So I'll be interested to hear if there's any movies I missed or anything you jumble around later. But, we'll get to that, because now we're getting to my top 2. We're getting close to the end. I bring you Trading Places from 1983. A John Landis directed movie, obviously. National Lampoon's Animal House he did, The Blues Brothers, Spies Like Us, Coming to America, Three Amigos. John Landis is good.
It's also a New Year's movie.
Yeah, it is a New Year's. It's kind of all-encompassing, Trading Places. So you could watch it multiple times during the holidays. Hilariously, one of the co-writers, Timothy Harris, he wrote My Stepmother is an Alien, Kindergarten Cop, Space Jam, and Brewster's Millions, which is one of my favorite baseball movies of all time. Co-writer Herschel Weingrod co-wrote those movies as well. Also twins. So that's kind of interesting. Again, when you look at those writers and those directors, like how many other great movies they did, it's usually a lot. This one you get Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ralph Bellamy, Donna Mesh, Denholm Elliott, even L. Franken and James Belushi make random appearances in small roles. Before L. Franken was a senator, like he was some stoner in a train car. And Paul Gleason's in this too. We mentioned him before, the principal from Breakfast Club. He's in this movie as well. He's in so many. We mentioned him from his role in Die Hard. But yeah, like so many fantastic scenes. We get the story of the rich white guys making a bet that they can turn poor Eddie Murphy, his character Billy Ray Valentine, into who Dan Aykroyd's character is, Harvard man Lewis Winthorpe III, while also making Winthorpe poor so that he turns to crime. So it's kind of like they're trying to switch them, right? The trading places, obviously. But, there's so many good things. I mean, I love the scene. You get Eddie Murphy inviting people to his house. He wants to show off his new wealth. He realizes they're all just freeloaders. They're just dancing in his house. Like, who did not use the coaster? Like, it's just so good. It's classic stuff. The jail scene too, like when he's in jail and he's acting tough so that he doesn't get beaten up. Like, that's good stuff. I think it's kind of a subtle thing that nobody really thinks about, but the fact that on Wall Street they're trading frozen concentrated orange juice, like that in and of itself is a joke. Like, it's just such a ridiculous thing. Obviously the end, you get the Wall Street buying and selling, also very good. Dan Aykroyd is an angry drunk Santa. I can go on and on. My favorite though is the train scene, because there's so many things. Like it's multiple parts of the movie, so many parts.
You're in lederhosen.
Yeah, exactly. Jamie Lee Curtis in disguise. But I mean, the gorilla and L. Franken's character, one of the baggage handlers, supposed to watch the gorilla. This random. It's like, why would they be putting a gorilla on a train? I don't know. That's absurd.
It doesn't make sense.
And then it's a New Year's party. James Belushi, he gives us the I'm a gorilla, you fucking clown. Like, it's like the only time James Belushi was funny in his life. But our main characters, obviously in disguise, is the Trick Gleason's character. They can switch out the orange crop report because they're trying to put a fake one in there for the stocks. They're trying to corner the market, essentially. And of course, later you get the gorilla and Gleason scene where there's some weird adult things going on with that gorilla in that scene when they're friends from Cameroon, like like it's so good, like it's classic comedy. Eddie Murphy's comedy gold. So I don't like at that point. I'm just Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd. I love this movie. I love Dan Aykroyd, but without Eddie Murphy, it's probably not as good of a movie. Like Eddie Murphy makes it. It's like they're the perfect kind of duo. I think it's great. And again, this is another movie I watched on TV, censored and edited many times, and then finally saw the real version and just thought it was amazing. And I know you love Trading Places. We've watched this together many times as well. It just when you first remember,
won and I lost $1.
Just $1. For you, like when you first saw Trading Places, because like when I first saw it, it's like, oh, cool, these guys are in it. This is going to be good. I didn't realize I was going to laugh so hard the whole time. It was like one of those movies where it's just like, this is good. For you, like when you saw it the first time, did you expect it to be as good as it was?
I'm not sure if I did. No, I don't know. I don't remember actually.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm guessing like you, it was pretty early on that you started to realize how good it was going to be, because they get into action early. I mean, like I said, that jail scene is pretty early. They're switching their lives pretty early, So
like Modern Problems with Chevy Chase. I didn't think that was going to be good, but it was hilarious.
Yeah, those guys are on a whole nother level. That movie is so weird that I don't know. Like, it's not a Halloween movie, but it's creepy, and it could be a Halloween movie because there's ghosts, right? Isn't there like possessed people? Like that crazy scene where he's like sniffing the white stuff, and it's like
even Dustin Nell Carter puts down.
Yeah,
it's
good. That's good stuff, man. And to be honest, that's a perfect segue into my number one Christmas movie of all time. No surprises. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. 1989, this movie came out. Crazy. I have a lot of 80s movies that made my list. Another John Hughes movie, of course. He wrote this. He was obviously the guy who did Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, my number 10 holiday movie. Jeremiah S. Chechik directed it. He later directed Benny and June, The Avengers from the 90s. Also 8 episodes of the show Burn Notice, which I did not know. I like that show, Burn Notice. So that's kind of crazy that the same director was in it. But Chevy Chase, obviously, plays Clark Griswold, Beverly D'Angelo, Juliette Lewis, Johnny Galecki. I know Michael here loves that Johnny Galecki. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in it. Randy Quaid is Cousin Eddie. John Randolph, Doris Roberts, Brian Doyle Murphy as Clark Griswold's boss. Just all good stuff. This, to me, is the premier Christmas movie. It is so funny from the beginning to the end. The Clark Griswold rants are legendary, as we all want to have the happiest Christmas since what, Mike?
Bing Crosby tap dance with Danny fucking Kaye.
And we already talked about this. Of course, the Jelly of the Month Club rant is good too, when he's like shaking with the eggnog and he's got to drink the eggnog and he's kind of laughing, thinking of things to say to his boss for not giving him a bonus. But another thing I like, it's based in Chicago. It reminds me so much of our family, Christmas Eve family parties, the aunts, the uncles, grandmothers, while the Griswolds obviously are living in the suburbs and they were, richer, their characters obviously are richer than like our family was. I think it checks a lot of boxes to our family get-togethers. She wrapped a Jello mold. she wrapped the cat. It's good stuff. The Julia Louis-Dreyfus scenes are also kind of underrated with her boyfriend because they hate the Griswolds and have conflict. And it's just like you have the ice come through and destroy their stereo, and they have no idea what's going on. Do
you know yet what a dump truck sounds like driving through a nitroglycerin plant? Because I don't.
It's good stuff. And of course, I think the way the kids have to interact with everyone kind of reminds me too of when we were kids at our family parties. So you don't know what to do half the time when they're asking you questions or pinching your cheek or whatever the hell people are doing. But there's so many classic scenes in this. I don't even know where to start. I mean, like I said, one of my all-timers has to be that Jelly of the Month Club rant because the sequence after that, you get Cousin Eddie, tying up, Clark's boss Frank and putting a bow around him. But it starts you see him have a look on his face, and then the RV is leaving, and then it's leaving another place, and then you have that phone call he was a brute of a man wearing a blue leisure suit. And of course it ends with the SWAT team crashing through the windows. And then, if you just want to continue it, because this is at the end, you get the, if I had a rubber hose, I would beat you line, which is just pure gold as well.
Yeah.
It's just good stuff. And this was another one that I actually didn't see the uncut version until college. I think it was my freshman year, I downloaded it and I was watching the movie. And I hadn't seen the uncut version of the Christmas Vacation. I saw it of the original Vacation with you, but I never saw this. It was always on TV, and they edited stuff out. And if I recall, the version I saw, some of the rants weren't even in there. They cut them out completely. They weren't even censored to where they just censored the swear words. They just didn't include them. So I didn't even know it was there. So as a kid, the squirrel scene, the attic scene, when he's looking at the old memories and he's wearing all the ridiculous costume clothes, and then the sledding,
an asshole in my driveway.
Yeah. the sledding,
asshole in a bathrobe.
Yeah, Cousin Eddie. Shitters full, of course. That's another good one. But he puts that ridiculous spray on the sled or whatever, and he goes flying down. As a kid, I love that, but then as an adult, when you actually see the unedited version, it just I couldn't stop laughing. I still to this day laugh as hard as I did the first time I saw it. It's just so good. It's so funny. I watch this every Christmas, and I know, and like I said, Michael here, he had me watch the uncut original National Lampoon's Vacation. Also has legendary rants in that one, But I know he has got a lot to say about this. Like, what are your thoughts on my number one, man? I know you like Christmas Vacation as much as me, so
yeah, I love that movie. It's great. Yeah.
What were you when you first saw the unedited version? Were you as just falling out of your chair laughing like I was? Like,
yeah, I was definitely.
Do you remember when
that whole speech about the fucking Bing Crosby and all that?
What's funny is that, again, our family parties, like, they were ridiculous like that. We were walking, like, they were ending early because of something ridiculous, not a squirrel or a dog chasing a squirrel. It was usually because, somebody stole a vodka bottle or something. But, but it's still, like, it's the whole thing. And there was always, like, somebody like, no, we're going to ruin Christmas. And that's what this reminds me of so much. But do you remember, did you, because I never watched this movie with Dad, but did you watch this movie with Dad? Like, how young were you when you first saw Christmas Vacation? Do you remember?
I was pretty young, but I don't remember who I watched it with, but
yeah. Because I wasn't sure about that, because the one thing
I think we went to the show. Like,
really? You saw this in the theater?
Yeah, we went to the show for this movie. No, we did. We were at the theater watching this with the unedited version.
Half the stuff would have went over your head probably at that point. Like, you would have been like 9?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think I still found it funny, whatever was going on.
Yeah, that's like me, because there was still funny stuff happening. And then, like, if other people are laughing, you kind of laugh too. But, like, it's just... That had to be awesome. I wish I got to see it in the theater. I had that memory. There are theaters that play old movies sometimes. So if I ever see Christmas Vacation playing at a movie theater, like, I have to say that I would run to this movie. I'd pay $20 to see this in theaters, just because I know it's kind of ridiculous, but there's just something about that atmosphere, and you're watching it with a bunch of other people. Now, that's my top 10 now. So now, before we get to what Michael here would change about my list, and if I missed anything that he thinks is worthy here, I'm going to go through a couple of honorable mentions that just missed my list. I still consider these really good movies. Bad Santa, I think, is really funny. It was, again, another newer movie with Billy Bob Thornton. It's a very dirty movie. Definitely not a family movie. I just think it's a hilarious Christmas movie. Like, it's just so ridiculous. Like, about he's a criminal and everything. Like, it's good. I like that movie a lot. The Home Alone franchise, 1 and 2, although I like 2 better, I kind of lump them in together. I think that those are classic kind of Christmas. I mean, Joe Pesci and David Stern, and in the second one you get Tim Curry or whatever jumping in there. Just another franchise, Macaulay Culkin when he's young. Like, those movies bring back nostalgia for me. Trapped in Paradise, a movie Michael here showed me. I almost put it on there because I love this movie since he first showed it to me. Nicolas Cage, John Lovitz, Dana Carvey. I think that they play off of each other so well. The banter in this movie is so good. It makes me think that a lot of their banter was like improv because of the way it is. I love that movie as well.
Four laughs. Circle, you idiots.
I also, one of my honorable mentions, Tim Allen's The Santa Claus, the original one. I don't know. Like, that's another Judge Reinhold movie, too, hilariously. He's in that. There's something about it. I like that movie. I don't know. Like, I liked it as a kid. I thought it was pretty funny. And then Michael mentioned that he would put this over It's a Wonderful Life, but White Christmas. Bing Crosby tap dancing with Danny fucking Kaye. Like, what else can you ask for? It's a good movie. Something I also saw with our Nani. So those are some of the quick honorable mentions that I was really thinking about putting on the list, but just ended up not for whatever reason. But Mike, like, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on my list? Do you think I did a pretty good job, or would you jumble some things? And
it's okay, but I'm gonna I would get rid of Wonderful Life and put Trapped in Paradise in there, of course, and even Christmas Story. I probably would. What would I take? 4 Christmases with Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn. That was really funny.
Yeah, that's a movie that I've only seen a couple of times. I do think that it's funny, but I kind of went with movies I saw a lot to put on this list. So I'll have to watch that again. That's pretty. I'm sure that's pretty good.
Draft in Paradise is definitely on my top 10. It's one I watch all the time.
Yeah, I almost put it up there.
Nicolas Cage classic.
Nick, I mean, like I said, just because it didn't make my top 10 doesn't mean I don't like it. I think that movie's hilarious. What about what would you have the same number one, Christmas Vacation, or would you put something else as number one?
Yeah, I think that would be number one right there.
Yeah, I figured that you'd be on the same page with that one. Again, that's probably a lot of people's number one Christmas movies. It's just so good. Would you have Elf in your top 10? A lot of people might think that might not.
I like Elf. I like Gremlins. Yeah, that's all in there. I don't know about Edward Scissorhands. I like it, but I don't think it would be in my top 10.
Oh, okay.
Christmas movies, anyway.
Yeah, I gotcha. What about Die Hard? Would that be in there or no?
No.
Yeah, that wouldn't have made
it's not even a Christmas movie to me. It's an action movie.
Hey, it's an action Christmas movie. I think
it's a Christmas movie.
It was billed as such. It was literally billed as a Christmas movie. And at the end, the song's "Let It Snow." Let It Snow.
I really like Skipping Christmas with Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis, and Dan Aykroyd plays the suburban block guy who's like the mayor of the block.
Yeah.
He knows everybody's business and he cares what's going on.
you showed me that movie. That was pretty funny. I only saw it the one time you showed me, but yeah, that was also pretty good. Another Tim Allen Christmas movie, hilariously. I think it's funny that a lot of these actors do a bunch of these. But Trading Places, would you have that as high as I did? Because I love it at number 2. I think that was such a funny movie.
Yeah, it's definitely in my top.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah,
another good seasonal movie for New Year's is 200 Cigarettes.
200 Cigarettes, yeah.
Dave Chappelle's a taxi driver. You got Ben Affleck. You got Casey Affleck.
Yeah, it's a pretty all-star cast.
Paul Rudd.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Garofalo.
I also like that movie.
What's her name from The Goonies is in that. She's the one throwing the party. I forget her name. I forget the actress's name, but she's from The Goonies.
Which character from The Goonies?
The blonde with the glasses.
Oh, yeah. No, I got you. I can't think of her name either. But yeah, that's another pretty good movie. I like that a lot. I wouldn't put it on my top Christmas movies though, at all. I wouldn't even consider. I guess it's holiday.
It's a New Year's Eve movie. That's what it's all about. It's about New Year's Eve. They're all trying to get to this party, and then what's her name from The Goonies gets drunk and passes out for her own party before anybody gets there. And she's like, "Oh, they had a party without me."
Yeah, and to be honest, again, my list was actually not just Christmas; it was holidays because I had Planes, Trains, and Automobiles from Thanksgiving as well. But it's just it's a good movie. I'll have to look back. I'll have to see that movie again.
There's also Dutch with what's his name? Paul O'Neill, that's not. Is he Paul O'Neill? Player? He's a baseball player.
He's a Yankee.
Fucking Al Bundy. What's his name? Something O'Neill, right?
Yeah, Ed O'Neill. That's who you're looking for.
That's fucking Ed O'Neill. Yeah.
Yeah, Ed O'Neill. Also, he's in some good sports movies.
But that's a good one because it's also, I think, Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think, or maybe just Thanksgiving. I'm not sure. I think it goes into both, actually.
Like I told you, my brother's a movie connoisseur.
Ethan Embry's in there. Ethan Embry was actually one of the Rusties later on.
Yeah, because every vacation movie, there's a different Rusty.
My favorite are Anthony Michael Hall, number 1, and Johnny Galecki, number 2.
Yeah, Galecki from Christmas Vacation, and the nerdy Anthony Michael Hall.
No.
I still think it's funny that he got buff for Edward Scissorhands, I gotta say. Because I was just wait, that's Anthony Michael Hall? Because I had seen Breakfast Club and all those '80s movies. The Rat Pack or whatever they call it, the Brat Pack. I mean, like those movies. And he was always this small nerdy kid. And then all of a sudden he's like muscular, like maniac, like Edward Scissorhands. It's just so crazy. But yeah, that guy's nuts. Yeah, it sounds to me like we kind of hit on some of the same movies, but
there's another Nicolas Cage one, Family Man.
Family Man is a Christmas movie. I would not put that anywhere near
a serious one. Like if I wanted to pick a more serious one, it'd be Family Man.
Yeah,
or he goes on that whole I
feel like that's
what would your life be kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the trope, man. That's like It's a Wonderful Life. It's just a different version of it. There's a couple movies that do that kind of trope. Like what would you do if like your life was a little different, kind of a deal. And then you end up wishing that you were back like in your old life. But yeah, like I'm surprised that you don't like It's a Wonderful Life. I'm surprised you didn't watch it a lot. I say not a big Jimmy Stewart It's a Wonderful Life fan over here. So would you put White Christmas on the list then, or would that just be like kind of on an honorable mention?
I said I would take that over like an older Christmas movie, like over Wonderful Life. Like I'd watch that.
Okay.
Like, I watched that a lot with Nani. She's always
she loved White Christmas as well. That's why it's another reason why it's on my honorable mentions, because I watched that a lot. It's a good Christmas movie. Like there's so many. It's so
He's
hard.
Like the only reason I know like random Judy Garland movies that isn't like The Wizard of Oz. Like
yeah. Oh man.
Or in what's his fucking Mickey Rooney.
Yeah.
We're like in all kinds of movies together.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you didn't watch more. Like, did you watch action movies with Nani? Because she watched them with me all the time. Like, she loved them. She'd be like, "Oh my god, I love this movie!" Like, she'd be
just Beverly Hills Cop. She said, "I love that guy."
Eddie Murphy again. Yeah, that's good stuff. Beverly Hills Cop is classic. But like Die Hard, Universal Soldier, we watched like. Some other random ones like Lethal Weapon. I watched that with Nani. Like she's just all about those movies with me. It's so funny. Like I wonder if anybody else, like our cousin Danny or Laura or anyone, watched action movies with Nani. it could be like a random story that like for some reason only I have. Like she watched all kinds of action movies like with me, like But she was like into it. She was like you couldn't pause TV, but she would be like, "Oh, hold on a second, I'm gonna come. Tell me what happened." Like she would all be excited. What did I miss from this movie? It's just so funny that you love those action movies. But yeah, I mean, there's you guys have my top 10 holiday movie list and Michael's inside here. Apparently, I did okay for the movie connoisseur. Like I hit on some things, but I didn't hit on all of them. You would definitely jumble it up. But yeah, like I said, Michael here is he's shown me a lot of these movies, a lot of these unedited versions of them as well, and I probably would not have the same movie knowledge if it wasn't for Michael. So obviously it's always fun watching movies with you on the holidays, man.
No.
And this has been fun, huh? This podcast. I know it's the first one you've been on. Are you also excited to because I do want you to come on. I have some things in mind, some projects in the future. I know everybody listening should be excited about this because Michael here is he can be very funny with things, and I think he knows what's up, and he's I don't know. There's just a delivery that he has in some of the characters he does for us that I think he'd do great on a show, but. Are you excited to get back on here and do some projects with me, man?
Yeah, sure. I definitely am.
that was like the
maybe be less nervous than I am for now. Like I don't know why I'm nervous about a podcast, but I am.
Well, what's funny is that I would say that you started nervous, you got you weren't as nervous, and then now you're a little nervous. It's like ending, and you're getting nervous again. But when we started to hit Scrooge, you were just like singing Robert Goulet songs, like. But yeah, so it's been a blast, of course. Thanks to everyone who's been listening and supporting the SunDried Tomatoes podcast and YouTube channel. Thanks to everyone who subscribed and downloaded the podcast. And to those who have subscribed to my YouTube channel itself. This wouldn't be possible with all of your support, and I really do appreciate it. Thanks again to my brother Michael for joining me to talk holiday movies. For everybody else, please feel free to share your own holiday favorites in the comments section of the video on YouTube, on the YouTube version. Hey, I have a thick skin, so you can rip my list to shreds and disagree with me all you want. I do not care. But yeah, go ahead, comments. It'll be fun. Until next month, salut.